Okay, so this is Yechezkel Perek Zayin. V'hidvar Adonai Elai Lemar. The word of Hashem came to me saying, V'yata ben Adam, Ko amar Adonai Elohim la'ad mas Yisrael, kates ba, ha-kates, al arbe kanfos ha'aretz. So the say V'yata ben Adam Ko amar. So this is what Hashem says, and He's prophesying la'ad mas Yisrael, to the land. Kates ba, ha-kates, al arbe kanfos ha'aretz. The end is coming. The translate here is doom. Doom is coming to the four corners of the land. What you're going to see a lot in this parak is repetition of words, repetition of sounds or phonemes. I can't explain to you what it's there for, but
phonemes.
Yeah, what I call it? What I say? Phonemes. Phonemes. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
V'yata haketz alayich v'shilachti apibach usfasai ushefasicha kidrachayich v'nasati alayich es kol tovosayich. So the Kates is coming. I'm going to let loose my anger against you and judge you according to your ways. And I will, this is going to be a refrain. I'm going to take all of the disgusting things that you've done and throw them back on you. You can hear kind of the repetition of the sounds. I'm going to show you no pity, no compassion. I'm going to not forgive because you've done all these abominable things, and you'll know that I am Hashem. In the next paragraph, we're going to get a much clearer picture as to why Hashem is this angry and has been angry for several prakim. Komar Adonai Elohim, Ra'ah Achas, Ra'ah Hineva. So says Hashem, a singular terrible thing. Bad has come. Behold, it's here. Kates ba ha-kates. Hekitz elayich. Hine ba'a. Doom is coming. Doom is here. It stirs against you. Here it comes. Ba ha-tzvira elayich yoshev ha'aretz. Ba ha'es karov hayom muhuma v'lo ha'ed harim. The cycle has come around for you. Everyone that lives in this land, the time has come. The day is near. There's panic and confusion instead of happiness in the mountains.
This is Yechezkel's entry in the annual slam poetry competition.
Right? Ata mikarov eshpoch chamosi. Very soon I'm going to pour out my anger alayich v'chilesi apibach ushvatich kidrachayich v'nasati alayich es kol tov asayich. I'm going to judge you according to your ways, and again take all your disgusting things and throw them back on you. V'lo tachos eini, and I'm not going to hide my eyes. V'lo echmol, I'm not going to have mercy. And you will know that it's I, Hashem, who is punishing you. The day is here, the cycle has come around, it's reappeared. The staff is blossomed, and Hazadon, Parach Hazadon is like the intention, the arrogance they have here is starting to bud out of this staff. Lawlessness is sprouting up. Lamatet. Lamataresha lo mehem velo mehamonam velo mehem velo noha bohem. Nothing comes from them, nor from their abundance or their wealth, nor is there preeminence among them. I'm just going to run through the rest of this parak. The next parak is going to explain this parak a little bit better. So here's the day is going to be so bad that the person who buys is not going to be happy, and the person who sells is not going to be moan. Ki charon kol hamona, because everyone is going to be going to suffer. Usually, when you're the buyer, so you're happy because you've acquired something, and when you're the seller, you regret having to part with the merchandise. Here, no one is happy. Ki hamocher el hamimkar lo yashuv vo b'chaim chayosam. The seller's not going to return to what he was sold because both parties are not going to be alive anymore. The visions concerning all of these people will not be revoked because of their own guilt. No one's going to be strong enough to remain alive. Taku batakoa ve'echin hakol. So sound the horns. Make sure everything's ready. But no one's going out to war You might have thought, like when you hear the blast of the horn, that people are going to mount up and start getting ready for war. Ki charoni el kol hamana, because my anger is going to be on all of the armies that you might try to assemble. Hacherev bachutz, the sword is outside. V'hadever v'harav mibayis, and there's plague and famine inside the house. Asher b'sadeh b'cherev yamus v'asher be'ir ra'av v'dever yochlenu. Wherever you are, if you're out in the fields, the sword will get you. Those that are in the city are going to starve, and they will be consumed by this plague. Paltu plutehim v'hayu el harim. You're going to have to take whoever is remaining, and they're going to go out to the mountains. Kayona hageos, like the dove in the valley. Kulam homos ish bavono. Everyone is going to suffer for their transgressions. Kol yadayim tirpena. All the hands are going to be weak. V'chol birkayim telach namayim. They translate here, I think incorrectly, all the knees shall turn to water. I think it's that there'll be urine on everyone's thighs. In other words, there's a complete.
Going to pee themselves.
Yeah. V'chagru sakim v'kiso sam palatzus v'el kol panim busha chorashem karcha. They're going to gird sackcloth, and horror will cover them. Every face will betray shame. Every head shall be made bald. Kasbam b'chutzos yashlichu. This is a pasuk that they cite in the Agadata about the destruction of the second Beit HaMikdash, but it really is, I believe, the prophecy is intending for the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash. This pasuk is used when the story of Martha Bas Baitus. Martha goes outside when she never stepped foot in the street, and she's throwing out her money because she has no use for it anymore. So the kasbam b'chutzos yashlichu, they're going to throw their silver out into the streets. Uzahavam lenida yu kasbam uzahavam, and the gold will be like secreted away. It will be treated as unclean. The gold and silver is not going to help. Vayom evras Adonai nafsham lo yisabeu me'ehem lo yimalu ki michshol avanom hayu. There's no way to save yourself from the wrath of Hashem. There's no way to satisfy the hunger of their stomachs, because they're all going to be filled with guilt. Utzavi adyo lagaon samahu utzamin toavasom shikutzeim asubo alkain nisativ lahem lenida. For out of their beautiful adornments, which they took pride, they made their images and their detestable abominations. Right? They made statues for their toivos and their shikutzeim. Therefore, I'm going to make their adornments a source of uncleanliness. L'nidalahem. Unesativ biyad hazarim lavaz l'rushay haaretz l'shlalal v'chiluluhu. I'm going to give them as spoils to strangers and plunder to the wicked of the earth, and they will defile them. Vasiboti panaimehem v'chilu tzfuni uba'uva pritzim v'chiluluhu. I will turn my face from them; my treasure shall be defiled. Ruffians shall invade and defile it. Asa haratok. Forge the chain, for the land is full of bloody crimes and the city is full of lawlessness. I'm going to bring the worst of the other nations that are going to take all your homes. I'm going to turn them to naught. The pride of the powerful, and their sanctuaries will be defiled. The horror is going to come, and they're going to seek shalom, and there will be none. Hova al hova tavu ushmua el shmua tiyeh. So, like, woe after woe, and you're going to be listening for anything to be hopeful to listen to, and you'll continue listening. Uvikshu chazom min avi, and you're going to seek a vision from the Navi. V'torah tovad mikohen, and there will be no instruction from the Kohen. V'etza mizkenim, and there will be no advice from the elders. Hamelech Yisabel v'nasi l'bash shmama v'yidei am haaretz tebahelna midarcham v'eseosam u'mishpatehem eshpatem v'yasu ki ani Adonai. The king is going to mourn. The prince will clothe himself in desolation, and the hand of the people of the land will tremble. I'll treat them in accordance with their own ways and judge them according to their just deserts, and they shall know that I am Hashem. Okay, what did the people do to deserve this level of, I don't know, we just had like 10 straight minutes
reviling.
Terribleness. Okay, chapter 8, I believe, comes to answer that. Vayi b'shana hashishis. It was in the 6th year, Bashisha. We're going to assume that was the 6th month. V'chamisha l'chodesh, on the 5th day, ani yoshev v'beisi, I, Yechezkel, I'm sitting in my home. V'ziknei Yehuda yoshvim l'fanayin. I've got all the elders of the Jews who are now in Babylon with me in my home. V'tipol alai sham yad Adonai Elohim. and the hand of God falls upon me while they're all like we're having dinner. And I see a vision. V'hinei dmus k'marei eish. Mimarei masnav l'mata eish u'mimasnav l'mala k'marei zohar ke'ein hachashmala. So we've now been transported back essentially to the first chapter. He has another vision of God, and I'm not even going to try to explain why. I don't feel comfortable even really describing it, but I'll just read the translation of what the psukim are saying over here. From Mimare Masnavu Lamata, from the loins of this appearance that he sees there and below is Eish. Umasnav ulamala kemare zohar ke'ena chashmala, and from the loins and above, the appearance was, they translate, resplendent and had the color of amber. Vishlach tavnit yad, and the what looks like a hand. Again, you get the same type of like cautious language that we had in the first chapter. It's a form of a hand, whatever it's sort of looks like, kind of
hand-ish.
Yeah. So this hand comes out, roshi, and he takes me by the fringes of my head. I don't know if that's the payas or just the hair, but the point is it's not comfortable, right? If you're getting lifted up by any part of your skull, it's an uncomfortable experience. Again, this to me reads like an out-of-body experience, meaning he's sitting there, he's having a vision, and he feels like he's being lifted up. I don't believe he's physically actually being lifted up this way. I think this is part of the vision. Batisa usi ruach bein haaretz ubein hashamayim, and the wind carries me between the land and the heavens. Tavo usi Yerushalayma, and brings me to Jerusalem, the Maros Elohim, and I'm seeing this vision of God. El Pesach Shar Hapnimis Hapona Tzafona Asher Sham Moshav Semel Hakina Hamakne. So he's taking me to the Ponat Safona, the gate of the north. I don't know what this Pneumius is, but it's a site where there is a Moshav Semel Kina Hamakna, the most infuriating and provoking kind of image that God has had to endure is over there. In other words, there's a Avodah Zarah there. Yeah. Okay. Right. I think that's exactly right. Okay, so we're outside the Beit HaMikdash now, like you just mentioned, and what we're going to do is move step by step closer into the center of the Beit HaMikdash. So now we've really tied this back to the first parak. In what I'm seeing, besides this Avodah Zarah that's there, that's angering God, is that same vision that I had in the valley. Vayomer Elai ben Adam. And now God, in this vision, calls to Yechezkel and says, Sana inecha, I want you to see, Derech Tzafona, look to the north, Ve'ese'enai. And I looked, Derech Tzafona, V'hinei mitzafon l'shar ha-mizbeach, and I'm now by the gate of the Mizbeach, Semel Hakina Hazeh Babiyah, this Avodah Zarah that's infuriating, is right nearby. Yomer Lai ben Adam, Haroat ha Mahim osim toevos gedolos asher beis Yisrael osim po lerachaka me'al mikdashi v'otashuv tireh toevos gedolos. So Hashem is saying to him, you see what they're doing? This terrible, disgusting thing is in my house, and this is what they're practicing in the Beit HaMikdash, the worshiping of Avodah Zarah, to drive me far away from my home. But there's even worse stuff, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'yaveh el Pesach hechatzer. And now he brings me into the courtyard. And there's this tiny little hole in the wall over there. Break through that little hole, chip it away. And I chip away that hole in the wall. And now there's an entrance. So now he's looking in to the Kodesh. And so Hashem is saying to him, I want you to see they're doing even worse stuff the further in you go into the Beit HaMikdash. So I look in and I see they've now made etchings and drawings of all these various animals, creeping things and beasts, and all the fetishes of the house of Israel were depicted over the entire wall. So whereas before, the Beit HaMikdash is embroidered with kruvim, with things to show glory to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They like graffitied over that now, and instead there are images of Avodah Zarah over there. What do we think was actually on the walls? Because we don't get a very specific description. So the academic consensus is that what's going on over here is some form of Egyptian animal worship. And if that's the case, the creeping thing that's describing over here would probably be the scarab beetle. In Devarim Perek Daled, it specifically talks about not doing exactly what we're reading over here. You can see Devarim Daled, Yud Daled through Yud Ches for more details on like the warning to not do exactly what they're doing. Okay, so let's do pasuk 11. V'shivim ish meziknei beis Yisrael v'ya'azanyahu ben Shafan omeh b'socham. So we have the 70 elders, and this guy Ya'azanya ben Shafan who's standing among them. Omdim lifnehem v'ish miktarto biyado ve'atar anan hakator olah. Every one of them is holding the thing to burn the spices, the censer, in his hand, and there's a thick cloud of incense that's going up. You see what they're doing literally under cloud of darkness. Ish maskito, each one in their covered over chamber. They say, look, God doesn't see this. He's already abandoned this. We can do whatever we want in God's house because God's not paying attention. You think that's bad? Says God. Wait, we it gets even worse. Brings me now to the north gate of the house of Hashem. Here are the women that are bewailing Tammuz. Okay, what is that? Actually, one thing I skipped. No, we're going to get to Tammuz in just 1 second. The incense that they're burning. So it's not clear why the 70 people, the Zakanim, maybe this is Sanhedrin or whatever, are performing some sort of ceremony over here. It's almost like a mock Yom Kippur ceremony because that's what the Kohen Gadol is supposed to do on Yom Kippur. Okay. There's a lot of irony in Pasuk 14 with the crying over Tammuz because they really should be crying, but they should be crying over the sins of the Jewish people. Like they should be bemoaning what the Jewish people are doing and not this idolatry. They're crying over Tammuz, who is a Babylonian god. The Jewish month of Tammuz is in fact named after that Tammuz. Who was he? So there's a question here: either a shepherd or a vegetation deity, a shepherd deity, vegetation deity, but either way, there's assumption that he's a lowercase g god. The Canaanites called him Baal, and he went through this dying and rebirth cycle, which is associated with the seasons. It's tied to, there's a very long story, which I will be happy to send you the Wikipedia entry for, but it's like a rom-com affair he had with the goddess Inanna. I have some pictures for you of Tammuz. Another name for him is Dumuzid. You've got Tammuz on one side, Dumuzid on the other. There's a very similar description of crying over someone who we're going to assume has some relation to the god Baal. And that's in Zechariah 12:11. It's interesting to kind of compare those two stories. I'll leave it at that. Let's.
Oh, that we have been punished.
Yeah, same. Vayomer Elai Hara'isa ben Adam Otashuv Tirato Avos Kedolos Meila, and I saved the worst for last. V'yaveosi El Chatzar Beis Adonai Pnimis, brings him to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. V'hinei Pesach Heichal Adonai Bein Ha'ulam Hu Bein HaMizbeach Ke'esrim V'chamisha Ish. There's 25 guys over there. Achareim El Heichal Adonai Upneihem Kedma. So they're facing backwards. They have their backs to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and they're facing Kedma to the east. Vehema mishtachavim Kedma LaShemesh, and they are, instead of prostrating to God, they are bowing down to the sun with their back side to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Again, I would direct you to Devarim 4:19 and 17:3 that specifically warns about doing these kinds of things. Okay, let me explain what is going on over here, because remember back then people are wearing, I don't know if it's togas or whatever the assumption is, but what they're wearing when they bow fully prostrated, like hands and knees on the ground, they're not wearing any undergarments. So what I'm going to read to you now is the Gemara in Kiddushin 72b. Mimashma shenemar upnehem kedma. Since I already told you they're facing the east, don't I know that their backs are to the west? So why do you have to also tell me that their backs are to the Heichal? Because they exposed themselves and defecated towards God. Amar Navi, and the Navi says, Misha asa hara hazos b'Yisrael yamus al mitaso. People who do this most vile and disgusting thing, they're gonna just die in their beds. They should die of like a terrible, there should be some retribution for this most disgusting act. This is the pinnacle of the abhorrent behavior that Hashem is describing in the previous parak was so infuriating. Now we understand that it's not just that they're worshiping Avodah Zarah because I can't help myself. I want to cover all my bases and I'll just get all the gods in. They're specifically going out of their way to defile the Beit HaMikdash in the most disgusting way they possibly can. Just as a personal aside, my own personal pet peeve, I'm never was comfortable with the I shouldn't say never, but certainly recently have not been comfortable with the turning around during Lecha Dodi. I was happy to see that Rabbi Abe Faor, who's the son of Chacham Jose Faor, expressed the same concerns. I'm happy to direct you to his extensive article on why he believes it's against halacha to do this. But I did also ask a Shiloh Rav Aviner about this and was told not to be Parshman Hatzibor, so that's why I still do it, even though I don't necessarily like it. But do with that as you will, and please feel free to do your own research. Pasuk 17, we have two more psukim. Vayomer Elai hara'isa ben adam hanakel beis Yehuda me'asos hatoevos asher asupo. Is this not enough for them to do these most disgusting things that they're doing over here? Ki maluos haaretz chamas v'yashvu lahachiseni. They're going to fill the whole country with lawlessness and provoke me even more, get me angry. V'hinei shlochim el hazmora el apam. And not only that, they're taking the branch and whacking their faces with it. I'm going to explain what that is in 30 seconds. And so I'm going to act with fury. I'm not going to have mercy. And they're going to cry, and I'm not going to listen to them. In other words, this is it. This behavior is intolerable, and that is what has set Hashem in such a level of anger. When he mentions, and we've mentioned a few times that the land is filled with Hamas, the other time that you might remember the land being filled with Hamas is by Parshas Noach. Yeah. Branch to the nose. So either that's a euphemism, and I would direct you to Radak on this pasuk, or it's a Persian pagan ritual called Barsom or Bersman.
What was the euphemism?
He's saying that they're sticking a thing in their face. It really means they're sticking it in God's face, but it doesn't want to write that. So in the Avesta, which is the holy book for the Zoroastrian religion, this what they're describing, taking like some sort of incense or a stick that smells good and putting it by your nose, is part of the worship for Barsom. So they're worshiping the sun, and you're basically like waving some sort of good smelling twigs around your mouth and nose so that you don't get a gross smell while you're worshiping. We have pictures. This is Barsom or Barisman. That's somebody performing the ritual, and that's the stick or the twigs that they would use that smell good, so that when they perform the ritual, there's no foul smell while it's taking place. Yechezkel did not realize how bad it was until God picked him up, brought him here, and showed him step by step how infuriating what is going on in the Beit HaMikdash really is. And now I think he's able to convey with firsthand knowledge the rage that is ensuing. We will pick up, please God, next time.